Parents on Reddit, what was your "I raised an idiot" moment? When they mistook a leaky radiator hose for smoke. No problem, it kind of looks the same. They continued to drive the car home thinking it was on fire, then pulled it into the garage that is attached to the house. It's never too late for an abortion. Contrary to popular belief, abortions may be performed even after birth without danger to the mother. In fact, post-birth abortions are often even safer for the mother. In fact, post-birth abortions are often always even safer for the mother. I don't think he's an idiot, but I think he lacks common sense because he'll take a bite of food, it will be scalding hot. He'll cry and act like he's dying, but won't spit it out. He'll say, "Mommy, it's hot." And I'll say, "Well, I told you to wait for it to cool down," or "then blow on it," or something to that effect. He will say no, and then continue taking scalding hot bites and crying that it's too hot. In his defense, his father's the same way. There's a Simpsons episode where Bart keeps touching a cupcake even though he's getting an electric shock every time he does. Lisa's science fair project is to figure out just how dumb he is. So every time our kids do something like that, we make a bzzzzzt electric shock noise. I keep thinking he's smart enough to stop trying to take bites of the hot food if it's enough to make him cry. But he just continues to do it and continue to cry about it being hot. IDK, but I'm pregnant and this convo is making me want mac and cheese. My almost 2-year-old is very cautious about hot food. She will declare everything to be hot when I put it down, even if it isn't. She pokes everything with her index finger, declaring oat if it's slightly warmer than lukewarm. Then she waits about 10 minutes, just playing with her food and sliding it around the plate until she finally eats it. Takes forever. I would understand if my kid was 2 and maybe I'd even accommodate him a little by spreading his food out more or stirring it during his meal, but mine is nearly 5, and very smart otherwise. He's just a glutton and absolutely needs to eat whatever he has in front of him. God forbid you make him sit and stare at it for a while it cools. Now, we put his food in the fridge for a couple minutes before feeding him, but it still sometimes happens in restaurants. In restaurants, let us know. Everybody hates making kids food as it's the one dish you never want to get wrong. A lot of adults deal with minor issues, we're never hear it, but goddamn are children savage. The more you tell us, the better we can do. We only likes it lukewarm and is 5. We're make sure it doesn't burn our skin etc. before sending it, so it definitely want their mouths, otherwise we have to assume it's a bigger child and treat them as a young adult, roasting hot etc. Kids' meals should always come with instructions for us, we care about them as much as the suits spending £200 on a 3-course. We just don't know how you've served them for the past X years. At age 15, at the market, she was asked to get a large chicken, and she came back with a turkey. When I asked her to return the turkey and get a large chicken, she revealed that she thought that turkeys were literally adult chickens, and that chickens were young turkeys. As parents, we try to teach our kids everything they need to know. But it's hard to see the gaps sometimes. I don't think this is uncommon. We have a small lime tree. When it first produced a lime, my husband proposed to let it rip until it becomes a lemon. Everyone probably has one fact stuck in their head that is horribly stupid and just needs to be corrected, but it doesn't come up all that often, so you just walk around with it for 10 years until it is finally revealed and everyone thinks you are a moron for 10 minutes. 3-year-old is preparing for his bath. His underwear looks strange, but I'm distracted. His brother. Kid takes off one pair of underwear, then a second pair, then a third. I ask why he is wearing 3 pairs of underwear. Kid looks at me like I'm an idiot. Mom told me to put on a clean pair every day. That non-autistic kid grew up to place the highest in math in our large Midwestern city. But even in his 20s you have to make sure you give clear instructions as he will follow rules to the letter. Boy is a born programmer. I'm the idiot. I registered for college and spelled my middle name wrong, but didn't notice for 4 years since they always abbreviated my initial. I was showing my parents my diploma before walking on graduation day and my mom just stared at me like I was special. Bonus points, I actually thought that was how it was spelled. Don't worry, I couldn't spell my middle name until high school. I never actually had to use it before then. My son still asks me how to spell his middle name. He graduated from college last year with honors. I haven't, and I hope I don't have to. But my dad said almost exactly that line in reference to my brother. My dad told me about a conversation they had that went like this as best I remember. When his third child was born and looked nothing like him, I told him he should get a DNA test and he told me he wished he could but it was too late. I asked what he meant and he said by now all the DNA would have mixed and there would be no way to tell who the child's father was. After I explained how DNA works to him, he still didn't believe me. When I asked him why he wouldn't just try on the off chance I was right that rather than being on the hook for child support for a child he had literally seen for 12 hours total over the first year of its life, he said, "It's just 21 more years anyhow, why waste my time? It is official. Your brother is a donkey." Or playing the "I know it's mine but I'll pretend I think it isn't and never go get proof so I don't have to step up card. Like you wouldn't go home and spend 5 minutes googling it within an entire year. My brother couldn't remember the proper name for shoes so he called them foot houses. Mom confirmed that day that at least one of her teenage children was a bit doughy up top. Gloves in German are hand shoes. Handschuh. Foot hand shoes. My son came to our house to visit, he didn't live with us, we weren't home but we on our way home so he let himself in. We walk in and he's freaking out about breaking our newly adopted cat or something to that effect. I asked him what was she doing, she looked fine to me. He said she was vibrating when she sat on his lap. This is where he learned about cats purring. He hadn't been around a lot of cats so IDK. Could be worse. Could have thought the cat accidentally ate a cell phone that was on silent. That would be funny low. I heard a noise in my kitchen and I went in there and there was flour all over the floor and all over my kid. And he was like, not me. But I think it probably was him. Every children's movie ever has this moment from the kid's perspective. He definitely has an invisible friend. He needs to be more vocal about blaming this invisible guy. And the family circus. A couple of weeks ago, our Chihuahua was horny and trying to bone his sister. I said to husband that the dog reminded me of a frustrated teen lad and he needs a cold shower. 20 minutes later, 17 years old walks in holding a distraught and dripping dog, wrapped in a towel. He'd overheard the conversation and literally put him in a cold shower, in March, in the UK. I swear to God raising this kid is like painting by numbers and every so often he goes dramatically over the lines. Imagine you're a 17-year-old lad finding out your mom's Reddit username is JUICYBIGTITS coolest parent of all time. Bet he can't wait to break his arm. Definitely not an idiot, but I love this story about my kid. I used to pay the guy who took care of the yard for me by writing a check, putting it in a baggie, and sticking it under the mat. On the phone while writing the check, so I asked my son to put the check in the baggie under the mat for me. I went on with the conversation and forgot about it. A few days later, the guy who takes care of the lawn calls me up and says he looked everywhere but can't find the check. While we are talking, I open the door and lift up the mat, and no check. He says, "You are really great customers," so I was surprised that the check wasn't there. I was surprised too. I look around, behind bushes, under a decoration, no check. Then, I try to think like my son. I look under the mat inside the front door, and there's the check. We still laugh about it.
Push the like button and subscribe.